When a baby is born, so is a mother, but that transformation isn't always easy. Welcome back to the TrailBLAZER pod. I'm your host, Faye, and each week I bring you stories of Jewish women who are trailblazers. In this conversation, Rebekah Garfunkel shares her journey through postpartum anxiety, identity shifts, and the birth of her business, It's a Mom. With vulnerability and wisdom, she opens up about finding purpose through pain, the healing power of creativity, and what it really means to hold on to yourself while caring for someone else. This is a story of rediscovery, resilience, and the quiet strength that lives in every mother. Let's dive in. Rebekah, welcome to the TrailBLAZER pod. It's so great to have you. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great. It's nice and hot out, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
I like to start with all my guests, and I'm excited for this one because I feel like you have a lot to share about this, but I always start with asking my guests like who they were as a little girl and like what their background is. So can you share your like early context and what little Rebekah was like?
Okay. So I grew up with a pretty diverse Jewish background. My father being Moroccan and Sephardic, and my mother being Ashkenaz, born completely different in the heart of Hollywood with glamour parties.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the only thing she knew about Judaism was that she was Jewish. Other than that, she didn't know much. But my mother, then, she was looking for meaning in her life. And when she met my father, it felt like almost like her calling. She loved everything that Judaism brought to her, everything she was missing. And she never was pulled to that life of all the gashmiut, basically. Yeah. And she just really went full on into Judaism and loved Shabbat, loved all the beautiful meaning behind it, and she really took to it. I also come from a big family of, Baba Saleh, so it's my maiden name, and that brought a lot too. We had many tzaddikim in our home growing up. We had Baba Saleh's wife who came in yearly to give brachot to hundreds of people, and then we had Rav Kaduri who came into our home, and he was also a big tzaddik. And so growing up with that, I did feel different as a child. I was deeply spiritual and saw past through things that are usually, people fill the void with materialism, and it never really spoke to me ever. And I've just always been drawn to truth, meaning, purpose my entire life, even as a child. And I just always, I call it to number one, Hashem, and also my creativity. And it's always something that whenever I was in a difficult position in my life or experienced challenges, I always went to number one, Hashem, and my creativity. These were things that saved me.
It's amazing. So you said you always felt different. Was that from like your friends, your peers, or like do you have siblings?
I have 3 older brothers, yes.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
So did you feel different from them or more like your friends in school?
I always felt like I had a spiritual calling. It's not easy really to explain, but for example, my grandmother gave me a Louis Vuitton bag and I couldn't care. I really don't care for labels. To me, it's more about how you feel about yourself, and I don't feel that a label should represent you or make you feel bigger, more important, special, powerful. Yeah. It's how you feel. And so I gave a friend, this girl who said it was like she said, my entire life, I wish I could have, I want Mercedes, I want a Louis Vuitton bag. So I gave it to her in school, and she was, Rebekah, are you nuts? This is a real bag. And I said, okay, and I really said to her, I'm like, so do you feel changed? I said, do you feel like this changed your life? This was in 9th grade. And she laughed, but I was serious. I'm like, how did this change you? So I always felt like the mother hen of my friends. And I feel like that's why they didn't want to tell me certain things about them,
They felt like you would potentially judge them. Not that you would, but that
right. Not that I would, but they were just like, don't tell, and like, I wasn't the one to call to go to clubs. I wasn't the one they knew that I wasn't interested. Those things gave me anxiety because they're just not me.
Wow. It's so special that you had that at such a young age. It's clearly like just your foundation. I'm curious, you did mention like creativity and the clubs and stuff was not your scene. So what were you into as a kid?
I always loved creating. And even as a child, my mom said I was always covered in markers, paint. No. I'd be in my room coloring for hours. She said you get lost into that world of creativity. Wow. And I've always been that way. So anytime, everyone has certain bumps in the road. And so I experienced mine. And my way of dealing with that was again, going toward my creativity, and I would get, I would get lost into that world in the best way though. I'd find myself seeing, well, first of all, I believe Hashem gives us talents and hobbies and passions for a reason. And I feel that going to them, like it brings us joy and it makes us feel fulfilled and brings us meaning and it helps us.
Yeah. It's tools.
Tools, exactly. They're tools. Yeah. Coping tools. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So did you have like a role model growing up that you kind of were emulating? Was it your mom? Was it someone else? Or did you not have one? Not everyone has one.
Now I have one.
Okay.
My husband is my greatest role model. Oh. And I know it sounds cheesy. It really does.
No,
but,
it sounds sweet.
Okay. No, but he really is. He has something that is very rare, especially today, which I don't want to embarrass him, but it's humility. And he does many mitzvot, which people don't even know about. And I don't want to say what they are because he does them in ways where he makes sure that they're not seen and he doesn't want his name on things. And,
so special.
And, I think that's actually the problem of today where people just want this big success and they want to feel powerful and they want to be seen physically, but the truth is, especially for women, the whole idea for women is like bina, modesty and humility. I think that's a really unique and powerful thing for women to have because it's not about being seen physically. It's more powerful for a woman to it's kind of like behind the scenes that make it all happen, right? And that's what Judaism is about. It's doing things for the greater purpose, and that's the whole idea behind Tikkun Olam, is making the world a better place. But I believe it's done in such a, like, Hashem does things so uniquely because it's not about the ego, right? Like, it's not about us. It's about purpose and helping others. At the end of the day, it's not me, it's all of us. But we are here as the conduits, we're the messengers. We are the one that make it happen. But had we been focusing on our ego,
right,
then that wouldn't happen.
Yeah. I love that you're bringing this up because I feel like we can have a whole conversation about this, but I want to get your opinion on something.
Yeah.
So you're mentioning a very important point about Bina, and also it's not about, everybody knowing who you are, right? It's the humility, purpose, and all that stuff. And when I started this podcast, I was really struggling with that. I'm like, I don't want people to see my face. I don't want people to know me. And I really, really struggle. I'm like, I don't want a social media. I don't want any of that stuff. And then somebody told me, and also a different side of the coin, like, it's almost selfish not to, because if you have something to share, then you also need to do that. So I'm curious, what would you say to women who are kind of like, how do you find that balance of, having that humility, but also sharing your voice? Because that's also, you got to be selfless with that as well.
Right. So I believe that it's the intention, right? So if your intentions are, I want to be famous, I want to be big, I want to be an influencer, right? Then that's wrong. And you're missing the whole point. And you probably won't be helping people or, the influencer is supposed to show people their power, their purpose. It's about, it's not about me. It's about what can I show you that you bring to this world, your potential. That's what a leader is. We were born, right? Hashem has woven this all into us already before we were born. When we were born, we have all of this that Hashem gives to us already. We were born with this purpose already, right? It's not like we have to go and search, what's my purpose? We were born with it. It's about returning back to ourselves. There's so much noise in the world. Social media is one of them. Yeah. And we lose ourselves in everyone else's thoughts, right? We have so many different lives we're seeing every day. We have so many people we hear about their anxieties, their depressions, we see their fancy lifestyles. It's really what it is.
It's too much for our brains to comprehend.
It's too much. It's overstimulation, and then you lose yourself, right? 100%. So, but the idea is, yes, you definitely should bring yourself, like, whatever your talent is, your passions, your hobbies, you should pursue all of them. Hashem gave it to us for a reason. We're meant to. It's essential. It's a responsibility.
Yes, exactly.
So yes, we should. And it's not thinking like we should do it in a small way. It's the intention, right? It's like, I'm doing this for this reason. And if it happens to get big, it becomes big. But it's not because you said to yourself, I'm going to become this big. Yeah. And I want millions of followers, so I believe it's about the intention. And it's also important to show our children that we don't have to choose between one or the other. You know, we can be both. And I believe there's this guilt, unfortunately, for mothers, because the mother is the essence of the home, right? It's the whole thing of like a carrot to bite. We are the essence of the home, and we make the home. When you enter a home, you feel the woman's presence. You feel her light, like she fills the home, right? So then we say to ourselves, then, okay, if we're pursuing anything else other than motherhood, which should be the ultimate thing that fulfills us, then are we neglecting our role as a mother, you know? But then look no further than our imahot, right? They actually made world-altering decisions that changed the course of Jewish identity. So
I feel like it goes even past Jewish. I feel like women in general in society were told, like, this is your lane, this is your box, stay in it, don't, right? And it's like so hard to get rid of all these, like, the voices and the noise and the like walls that are put up for us. And then you become a mom, which I'm not, but we're going to talk about this. And then you're dealing with even more of that, you know?
There's so much guilt. And it's also like I personally feel that there's nothing more meaningful and fulfilling than motherhood. I mean, it's funny because a part of me was fearful, and I don't even like to say this, but becoming a mother, I was fearful of it because I thought, am I going to lose myself? All of my talents and that spark that made me, is that going to just go out the window because I have all of these responsibilities and daily tasks? And the thing is, you have your own brain, and you have the ability to say and decide, no, this is what makes me, and this will make me an even better mother. You don't need to choose one or the other. We can show our children that we can do both, and it fulfills us even more, and it brings joy to motherhood so that we can actually enjoy it even more so. And our children feel that. They feel the difference between a mother who's neglecting herself and one who's pouring into herself as well. So I really feel that's the difference with one who is scared to or doesn't, feels it's not okay versus one who does bring that part of her and pursues her passions, hobbies, and whatever it is. It makes you feel whole, and a child, you have this extra joy,
And we're gonna get really deep into this, but I want to start from the beginning of how you came to these conclusions, and it's the journey of how you started your business. First, I'm curious, when you were 18, 19, what did you think you wanted to do?
Right. So many things. But more than anything, I felt like I wanted to be, I know this also, it sounds interesting how you think at that age, but I wanted to be a mentor. I didn't think I would be a therapist, but, most were ordering Teen People, and I got Psychology Today, and then I read, and I also read Toward a Meaningful Life by Rabbi Simon Jacobson, and I knew it was psychology meets Torah meets spirituality, and it was all, so it was helping people, healing people. That was always my greatest passion.
I like that you said that, because sometimes when you're 18 or 19, you think you need to have this job title that you want, right? And it really starts from where is your interest in your heart? What are you interested in? For you, it was this whole combination. For somebody else, it might be helping people, and then it turns into medicine, right? It needs to start from the very beginning of what kind of difference do you want to make in the world,
right?
I feel if 18-year-olds learned that, they would put a lot less pressure on themselves to figure out okay, I'm going to college for psychology because I gotta,
So that's actually a great point, and I'll share with you. So I actually went to school for graphic design, website, cool. and it was a fashion school, and I thought, maybe I'll use my voice through creating a t-shirt line. So I did. And then I realized I really was not into fashion at all. I couldn't, it was just not my thing. And that's the thing, is that then you feel but it has to be graphic design. I went to school for it, right? Yes. So if you're a lawyer, if you went to law school, I have to be a lawyer. I went to school for it. And that's actually something I admire about my husband, is that he did become a lawyer. And then when he began, he said, you know what, this is not for me. And he stopped. He pivoted. And which is so unusual, by the way, especially with lawyers.
I know,
takes so long.
The pride there.
Ego, right. Yeah. And to me, I saw such strength in that. I thought, really? That's highly unusual. And that's another thing. Just because you went to school for it doesn't mean that's what you have to do. Think about who you are, who you always were. Just like you asked, did you like to do as a child? Go back there before the world
Yes.
told you
Tells
who
you
you were,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
who you had to be, and social media
Yes.
tells you who you had to be or how you had to dress, or
Exactly. I
so
love that you're bringing this up because I actually literally bring this up in almost every one of my episodes because I'm in a like a career path that is so different from what I thought I would do and everything I studied. Life took me a different way, and for a
right.
little bit, I was like, "Oh man, did I just waste 6 years of my life?" And also, what am I telling people? And so I literally exactly what you said. Bring this up from the start of this podcast. I brought it up probably once every episode, so we completely align there.
Yeah, but you know
Yeah,
what? It's not a waste. It's, first of
it's
all,
never a waste.
extra, right? It adds layers to you, right?
Yes,
Character, more knowledge.
yes,
You can't go wrong with just
no.
extra knowledge, and like,
Exactly. So
brings
for
more to
me,
you.
it's like I get to connect with more people because I have different
Exactly.
backgrounds.
Right.
And then also, I find I literally use stuff from what I studied in my literally day to day in my job somehow. And I'm always like, obviously in hindsight, but I'm always like amazed that things that I learned, 8 years ago is coming back today in a completely different field and way. And it's just amazing to like connect the dots somehow. So it's never ever a waste. And it took me a
Never.
while to get there, but now I fully believe that.
I don't believe that anything is ever for nothing. Like, every single thing happens for a reason. Every single
Yeah.
thing.
It has a
So,
purpose. Yeah.
yeah.
It's just a matter of like also tuning into it, right? You can't just like push it
Right.
away and be like
Right.
that was my past, and
Right.
you
Exactly.
have
Yeah.
to be strong enough to bring it back into your life.
You know what? That is something that has saved me time
Really?
and time over and over again, is thinking, why is this happening? It's not Hashem is doing this to you, it's Hashem is doing this for you.
Oh
And
yeah.
when you look at it in a spiritual sense of like, why is this happening? What is this trying to teach me? You learn from it instead of become angry from it. It's a hard thing to do, but I've
Yes.
I've now it's what I do. It's like you think about it, and how is this going to better me, and how can this
Yeah.
refine me, and what am I learning? It's a better coping mechanism than thinking like, it
Yes.
ruins it wastes so much time is what happens. So
Yes, 100%. Okay, let's talk about your business. It's a mom. Like, when did this happen, and why did this happen? What was it? It's like, tell me the story.
when we had our firstborn, I experienced terrible postpartum anxiety, and I've only ever heard of postpartum depression,
Oh,
so I wasn't really sure what was going on.
okay.
I just knew that it was an extremely uncomfortable
Yes.
feeling that wasn't sitting right with me, and it wasn't like it was like I was able to experience joyful moments. I was able to, like, I was functioning. I was doing what everyone else could do, but it
Yeah.
just, the best way to describe it is like there's this pebble in my shoe, and I'm walking, and it's there, and I'm just like trying to shoo it, and it's not going away. It's like you have to take it
Oh,
out.
wow.
So I actually did. I saw a cognitive therapist, and she explained that it's extremely common, and mine, of course, led to, mine had many factors involved as to why I had experienced my postpartum anxiety, but I'll share one of them. And there's so many, there's just so many, but like sometimes it's just over like accumulation of stress.
Yes.
And sometimes, it's of course just not sleeping, which can totally mess up your entire day, just that alone. But one of my personal ones was that I was losing myself. I had a fear that I was losing my spark, my creativity, and
Yeah.
I also was not even physically okay, from my delivery, and I just didn't know how to heal myself. And that's when I came up with the idea of helping other moms both physically and emotionally. And that's when I came up with the idea to
Wow.
begin my business as a postpartum mother to my baby. My baby was 5 months, but this was something that was like my medicine. This helped me
Yeah.
deal with my anxiety, and I believe that it actually helped me heal from my anxiety. And it was just something that, just the idea of creating this new business that could help other mothers with something that is so necessary, it gave me my spark back. I immediately was just so excited to, the second I got my baby for a nap, I would rush to my computer, pull it open. Okay, what's the name of my company? Well, the company name is It's a Mom. So, you say it's a boy, it's a girl, so it's a mom. And
Yep.
the idea is when a baby is born, a mother is born.
Yeah.
And that's where this idea actually comes from. It's not just in the sense that like she became a mother just automatically from having a baby, but it's that
Yeah.
she is this new woman. She, you know, like there are so many ways in which you grow, and that's actually why I believe there's nothing a mother cannot do. You have so many new tools as a mother, the resilience, the strength, the courage, deal with all these new fears. It gives you all the tools. It really just gave me this newfound joy that helped me become an even better mother. Like I just felt more fulfilled. I wasn't neglecting that part of myself, which, you know, for me, being creative and being productive, doing something with my talents, that's a very big part of me. And it was just so exciting for me. Even just your thoughts when you're doing something like washing the dishes and your thoughts are like creating a logo or like, what's my tagline or what is the website going to look like? Or, you know, instead of thinking of your stresses and how overwhelmed you are, you're thinking of creating. The message that I would want to share with other mothers is that it doesn't make you less of a mother to pursue those talents and passions and hobbies. It makes you a better, more fulfilled and joyous one. And joy is something that your baby, your children feel. If a mother is joyous, it creates an aura. The children feel that. There's no question. Like you can see it. To me, the greatest education for children is joy. It's like that's 100%. You know, like they can always go back to that, like the happiness and like my mom is happy. But back to the business, it's something that I just believe so strongly in is that a mother should also pursue her passions and create and do what she's meant to do. And the important thing is that there's no timeline. It sounds overwhelming, but the beauty is in the journey, right? It's like, to me, that was the most exciting part, was creating it. Wow. Once it got to having the website, it was actually the most overwhelming. It was like, okay, now what? Sales. This is my least favorite thing to do. And I don't think I'm the best at sales, you know, like, so it really is in the creating.
Every creative person says this.
Right. So it's really in the journey, and it doesn't matter how long it takes, and it's in the baby steps, you know, that's the exciting part. And I think the problem is that we look at this like quick success thing, right? You see influencers with all these millions of followers, and it's an illusion. That's not real success, right? So when you create something from yourself, like I believe actually that the ultimate is creating purpose from pain. So many people have so much pain and so many past challenges and difficulties, and they just can't move on because they have that pain. But if you take that pain and you turn it into purpose, that's powerful, you know, and that's healing you as well at the same time. So that's where also the idea of It's a Mom came from, was I had so much pain and experienced so much prior to having a baby, which is what brought on more anxiety, and somehow that brought it up. And then creating this, it was healing, and helping other women was also healing too. It was the most healing part, was that I could share this with other women.
I have so much to say. I want to just start by saying thank you so much for sharing. That's pretty vulnerable of you. And like, I feel like a lot of women still have shame around the either anxiety, depression, the feelings they have after giving birth that aren't necessarily like the glamorous parts of it, right? Everyone's like, oh my gosh, you're a new mom, it's so exciting. And people forget how much happens like underneath of that. Your hormones are whack, everything is like just different. It's so hard for people to talk about this because it's so celebrated, and people don't want to see like the reality of what it looks like sometimes. And so I just want to say thank you. And then another thing you said was that you were so scared of losing yourself, and I shared with you this before the episode, like that's honestly one of my biggest fears with having children is like, what's gonna happen to me, you know, like what does that mean? Like I can't even fathom. And I know it's gonna be in a beautiful way, but I definitely am like, so am I gonna lose all my passions, my ability to do stuff, my time, like, you know, all this stuff. And I feel like so many women deal with this, especially women who have, you know, careers beforehand, or women who are like very ambitious and high achieving, and nobody wants to voice the fact that they have these feelings and thoughts, right?
Right.
So I want to thank you for expressing that as well, but then I want to ask you for advice.
So your life does change as a mother, right? It's impossible for it not to change. There's so many responsibilities and daily tasks that you have to do. But when you pursue your passions and you use your talents, right? You utilize your God-given talents, right? Like he gave them for a reason. Why else would he give them if you weren't meant to pursue them, right?
Yeah.
You really do become a better mother. You do. And so it's not going to be perfect, like exactly as you imagine, like how, you could just put on your makeup and it's nice and breezy. For example, this morning, I had quite the morning, right? I won't share my personal example of what happened, but let's take one. So let's say you wake up, just poured cereal in, you look away for 2 seconds, and your child pours the entire brand new milk all over the floor and onto your new skirt, brand new skirt, right? They're like, oh, self-care, I'm going to buy myself a new skirt. And then your child spills the whole milk. Okay. So had I not had, let's say, this podcast to look forward to, okay? Had I not had that, I probably would have said that ruined my day. There goes my day. Like this is going to be a horrible day.
Yeah.
But when you have something else to look forward to and you're not neglecting that part of yourself, you say, okay, this is life. And you even laugh it off, right? Like back in the day, before I had, it's a mom. So like 2 months postpartum, 1 month, like these things would happen. I'd be like, I can't even function. The rest of the day, I'm done. This is great. Like this is too much, right? But when things happen and you are pursuing these things, you just say, okay, I'm gonna have to deal with it. This is life. But at the back of your mind, you're like, but now I have this podcast to look forward to and I'm going to do it. And those things build resilience and they build strength and they give you character and humor and all these things. It's added tools, right? Gives you patience. You can even become a better, like, let's say, a podcaster, because of it. You think of creative ways to ask more creative questions, or you bring in your real raw humorous self, like you become better for it. It's just essential. It's not like something extra that like, oh, maybe I'll do that. It's essential to motherhood. That's how I feel.
So true that when you have those different things, it breaks the like thought in your brain, right? Like you're forced to. I want to ask you though, like for women who don't necessarily know what their talent is, right? Like some people, let's take somebody who graduated at 18 from high school, then got married right away, and then they're like 20, they have a kid, they find themselves sitting at home like longing for something, and they don't know what that is because they never had, let's say, the opportunity to discover what that is. Like, what advice would you give to like this young woman, or even older, just anyone that's like, what am I know I need to do something, but what am I supposed to do? Like, how can they tap into that?
And they have no clue what their passions are? Like, they don't have an idea?
No, because either they weren't allowed to explore it. Some people are like, okay, I'm going to school now, I'm going whatever. They don't have an outside hobby because they were never fostered. Or they did like something as a kid, but then, a lot of times we think, okay, that's childish, and you give it up.
So that's a very good question. But I think you answered it yourself. You touched on it, which you said as a child they did things, but they thought that it was childish. I think maybe the world told them that it was childish, but I think that it's what brings them joy. Yeah. And I think it's that people shouldn't listen to what anyone else is doing. The most fulfilling things come from you, like who you are. But the moment you think of what other people are doing or watching what other people are doing, then you do something using more of like your ego and like you're covering up yourself. And then you're not using all of you for it. So I think going back to like what you did as a child, right? Like me covered in markers coming to the dinner table, that's me. I was always creative and I lost track of time. My mom would say dinner, and I'm like, whoa, dinner, I forgot. I was like coloring for hours and hours, So yeah, I think it's going back to like what you did as a child. Like I can already see with my children, they each do such different things. And it's so specific. It's so different. Like, why is it so different? Why did this child take to that and that? So in my mind, I'm like, well, this one is clearly meant for that. And, but it's not for me to choose or say, but, you keep an eye as a mother and like you see, you take note, right? And then another thing, I think if like, I believe that they do have a clue and they do know inside because you're born with this, like Hashem already instilled it in you. It's about remembering yourself and returning yourself. But if they think that they don't, right? Then maybe go to speakers or different or challah bakes or different, and you meet different people. You speak to, I believe that everyone is a messenger. Any event I've ever attended, I spoke to someone and either it was something that they needed to hear from me or, they're like, oh, let me introduce you to, it's always some type of like spiritual exchange, always.
Yeah.
So I think it's coming out of yourself, getting out of your
Yeah.
comfort zone.
Yes.
And, you know, especially for me, I considered myself to be very introverted, and I was.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I
That's
stayed
so
at
surprised to
home.
me. Okay.
Oh, I stayed at home for years.
Wow.
And I told myself I was an introvert, but really it was me dealing, you know, with how, you know, something I experienced in the past. I just was like, I need calm. I need to
Yeah.
not
Okay.
meet certain types of people. And so in that time at home, again, like I just poured into it, just creating a website, creating a t-shirt line. I was constantly creating, being creative.
Yeah.
Even if I wasn't going out, or, you know, that's what I was doing. That literally saved me. Like I have
Yeah.
to, there's no question that my
Yeah.
creativity has saved me time and time
Yeah.
again.
No,
Um,
I believe you. Sometimes it's so overwhelming in your head. You need to take it from there to somewhere else, right? And for
right.
you, it was creating physically, or, you know, whatever you're doing on your laptop. I would say, like, one thing I would add to that is for women who don't know what they want to do, like, what helped with me during COVID, like, I graduated in grad school. It was COVID. Nobody was hiring. I'm like, and I need to work. Like, I genuinely, like, I freak out when I'm bored trying to work on it. I'm like, so what do I do, right? Like, and so just something that I think would help women is, like, I went back to, like, volunteering. Like, do something outside of yourself. Go give to somebody else. For me, it's, I love working with special needs children, and I did it as a kid. And so I'm like, I know I like that. I know I'm good with that. And so I started volunteering with Friendship Circle in Miami. And then I knew I used to do horseback riding as a kid, and I stopped for 5 years. And so I went back into that, and now I ride 3 times a week. But just going back to those little things, or getting outside of yourself, you know, go deliver food to the elderly, go anything to get you out of that space. And that's the foundation. That's where you start to build it up, and then you'll notice things about yourself. That's just my only piece of advice that I would add on to that for anyone that's listening.
That's excellent advice. That's actually the ultimate advice, because I remember going to the old age home as I think I was 12. I went, well, first it was with camp. We went with camp to the old age home and visited the elderly and sang to them. And I'm like extremely sensitive. So I cried singing to them, because you see them with these tubes and they're just like confined to their beds. And you're like, it just brings so much perspective, and like, it makes you feel like you're so, you know, you're lucky, and like you look at them and you just feel bad. You have so much compassion, and like, I remember that brought so much to me. Like after that, I just went and did it on my own. They just have so many stories, and I cried in front of them, and it was just so embarrassing. I had to pretend I was tying my shoe, or like I had to go to the bathroom, and I couldn't help being me. And like, and that's another thing, is that like, notice the things that like make you cry or emotional, or, you know, like those are beautiful things. Like tap into that, and like you said, which I don't know, I mean, that's like the perfect thing. Like you said, like go and do something outside of yourself, to like a challah bake even, you know, like just something that whatever it is, when you help others, you realize that that's the whole thing, by the way, and a whole other topic, but about like self care, or like mental health. Like it's like, enough about you and your problems, okay? Because if you can be in there your entire life, okay? So, but when you go and focus on helping other people, the amount that it gives you is just infinite. Like it doesn't end, and it just fills you more and more.
What's so beautiful about being a Jewish person and a Jewish woman is that the opportunities are infinite to volunteer and to do chesed. Like, there is no way that someone could sit at home and be like, I don't know how to volunteer or what to do. Like, there is so many options.
Anywhere,
like, there is no excuse.
Right. Exactly. No excuses.
No
go
excuses.
To your shul a mile away.
Anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a little bit more about your business. Like, what does it look like now? I know you're like, it's a woman. Like, talk to me a little bit of so you started 7 years ago and your intention there, but how has it like developed?
I discovered that in motherhood, there are different phases of motherhood, and each season serves a purpose. And that was a beautiful season. But I believe now I've kind of outgrown it, and it served such an incredible purpose for my postpartum period, and even time after that. But now, as we're discussing, I'm seeing that helping others discover everything we've just spoken about, basically,
Yeah.
is the ultimate kind of fulfillment for me. Like,
Yeah.
you can even go through my posts on my business and see that through the captions, you'll be like, she's not trying to sell you
100%.
physical products. She's trying to help
Exactly.
you emotionally. I just feel like, for example, Shabbat, we'll have new people over or friends, and then discussion turns into these huge life challenges that someone will have, like even someone I just met, and it turns into, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not one for small talk. So it
Yes.
usually
Yeah.
ends up being
Yeah.
this like
Yeah.
extreme conversation, and someone will either be getting emotional or like,
Yeah.
how did you know this? And just like turns into, I can't even tell you just how many things just happen, or like have a way at our Shabbat table or wherever my husband and I go, or I go, it always leads to some deep, meaningful conversation that was meant to happen. I'm realizing that there's more to me because I really want to help women, mothers, reconnect with themselves and remember that they have more to them, that they were given these talents and gifts for a reason. Like, God gave them to us to utilize them and to bring them out into this world and to better the world, just like our imahot did, like yes, the mother is the foundation of the home, and we have this, it's such a blessing, but it adds more. We can be both, we should be both, and it makes us overall better friends, mothers, spouses. So this is why I want to help other women tap into their truest potential and show them that they have more and they can be more, and there's no limit to what they can do. I want them to have this like zest and life, this joy for life, and not just waking up and doing the, seeing things as mundane. Like, when you pursue these passions, you see these mundane moments as special. Like when I'm with my kids, so I blast the music with my kids and dance in the kitchen. That's like my thing. And like, you can see the women who do pursue their passions, and like, you can see the difference in the mother, and like, you can see the difference in their children. You really can. There are so many women who look just exhausted all the time, and it's because, and I'm guilty of this as a first-time mother, I went to just like doom scrolling. I was like, my first month postpartum, and it made me feel terrible. That's, by the way, the biggest anxiety for me came from my phone, from social media. I had a personal account. I had Instagram, my personal account, and I would share things and think like, why am I sharing things? I don't need the approval. I really don't care if they like this picture. Like, and it gave me, you have anxiety when you do things that you don't understand, right? Like they don't make sense, but they're not aligned with you, right? And you're like, but you follow the crowd because that's what they're doing. And then like, but this isn't me. And I was never one to, like, especially if you are one to not ever follow, that wasn't your thing. Like, you always knew yourself. And so you're kind of like going against yourself. And of course that's going to give you anxiety. So I deleted my account, which was a big deal because I grew it, and a lot of traction, and then it was like, okay, goodbye ego, but that felt so good. It was like, wow, you see, I'm being me, like, this is more me. Like, there are things that will save you they're just hard to do, but like, for example, deleting my social media felt like the hardest thing in the world to do when I just had a baby, and it was like my way of socializing. I was already introverted, and here was my only way to socialize, and yet I was going to delete it. Right? And my husband noticed. He said, he would point these things out, like, it may just be your phone. Because I would tell him, like, this post got 1 like, and it's so pathetic. Like, it sounds so sad to, like, say, but it's true, like.
And we all go through it.
And we all, and it's only because, like, I just posted it, and then it's like, oh, okay, I got 85 likes. Okay, I feel better about myself now. Whew, I wasn't someone, now I am, And like, it's not, it has nothing to do, like the algorithm or like whatever it is. But the point was, it was too much for me. Overstimulation. It made me feel like it was like, let's say I'm scrolling, right? And then my baby wakes up. I'm like, oh no, my baby just woke up. I was just doing this, and it's like, it's not self-care. You're making things worse and harder for yourself, like, this was me saying, like, I have more important things to do right now. No, your priority is your baby, right? And like, I should have been like, you know what? I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to take a bath, like, and I would have felt better rather than feel worse, like I was having extreme anxiety from my social media, You know, for example, I had It's a Mom got into People magazine. You know, I that was the one thing that I was able to, you know, have like this name, People magazine, and I was so proud of myself, and it was a moment. So my husband and I went for a walk and on the beach, and like we were celebrating It's a Mom, and I took a picture with him, and that was a special moment to me. And I shared it on social media and suddenly had panic. Like I didn't even share really pictures with like personal, but then that picture, sharing that picture, which was so personal and special to me, bringing it out to the public gave me so much anxiety. I couldn't even sleep at night. I was tossing and turning. I finally just was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm ruining myself. Like I'm literally doing this to myself. So I had to make that decision, and it was so hard. But when I deleted it, I really felt like a new person.
Wow.
This is what rebirth felt like to me. I remember going to LA for Sukkot and like not having that need or pressure, like take a picture of the clouds on the airplane, just like being in the moment. You feel joyful. You know, it's like, I remember being at the table with our cousins, and they were saying, oh, why'd you stop? Why'd you? And I felt like, I feel so sorry. I feel so sorry that they're like still in it, you know, like it's so sad. Like,
that they haven't seen the light.
They haven't seen the light yet, you know? And they're like, but why? And I was like, you understand, like, why are we all doing this? We're all sheep. We're like slaves to our phones. We wake up, we look at our phones, you know, like, and now I approach things very differently, even with my kids. Like, had I still had that account and opened my phone right away and my kids, oh, the breakfast spilled, I'd be I'd just be like nonstop anxiety. I'd probably be on medication, and I'd probably be like, forget pursuing myself. I'd be like, I can't deal with life, you know, like it'd be too much, because it is too much, you know. So basically my goal is to help women delete their personal accounts and create business accounts. Like I feel like they will start living and really seeing when you come alive, when you really find out like what your passions, your talents are, and the gifts that you have, right? Like when you start seeing that, and you start seeing your growth and like you're becoming, it's so powerful. It's like, you're like, this is why I'm here, you know, like this is of course you feel fulfilled as a mother. It becomes so clear, but it's just a difference in your day. It really is.
Yeah, exactly. How are you reaching these women?
So it's a tough one. It's a tough one because, again,
I like asking tough questions.
yeah, and it's a good one because, once again, social media. So I had to create a new account, but now with something different in mind, that like now I'm really seeing that it's not about the likes, and it's not about it's about like, even if one person, right? If one person sees this opportunity and says, you know what, I want to make a change. I want to pursue these passions, and I want to like see what I can bring to the world. I want to feel better about myself. I want to come out of my comfort zone. I want to be a better mother. I want to feel happier. You know, like I want to feel more fulfilled. And by the way, it's okay to say that. You don't have to feel guilty for saying I want to be even more fulfilled. You know, like that's a big part of it, is so many mothers feel guilty for saying that out loud, and you can and you should. For example, I have a friend, sees what I'm doing, and she reached out to me over Shavuot. She baked cheesecakes, and everyone was saying, wow, this is the most incredible cheesecake I ever had. And then this friend was telling that friend. Now she's selling 7 a day, basically, which is incredible. And she said, Rebekah, I want to make a business of this, and I need you to help me create this business. So it's a combination of life and business coaching, because to create a logo, to create a brand, a voice, aesthetic, a vibe, it has to come from you. She's like, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even know, like, what is it going to look like? She's like, I'm not creative at all. Like, I just know I want to sell these cakes, you know? So to me, back in the day, I used to look, you know, it was coming from ego. I used to think like, okay, so, you know, the sales and how many, and the likes, how many, and now I'm not coming from that place at all. And this is where I say, like, I admire my husband, because like he is all about humility. I haven't ever seen him show off once. Really, I want to be more like him. It's like, it's just, it's a real self-esteem, you know, like it's the real deal kind of self-esteem. It's the powerful people are not the ones who have big names and they're on the newspapers. So even just her reaching out to me and saying, you know, this is what I want, you know, and I'll ask her, what do you want? Do you need a website? Do you need a business card? Do you need a logo? Do you need a name? So she now came to me with what exactly she wants and needs. And this is very exciting to me, and I just started, haven't even launched it yet. Like, I only introduced this idea that this is what I'm now doing, and I haven't had the time yet, because now I'm helping her do this. And to me, it's about getting started, right? It's not like, but first I have to do. That's the hardest part. But I used to be the perfectionist, like, no, the website has to be done first. People have to see that it's official, that it's a website, that it looks the aesthetic, that and
you have to check all the boxes.
It has to check all, and it doesn't. And the idea is, like, when it comes from a place of, like, this is meant for purpose, right? And this is different. It's about, like, helping someone, like you said, coming out of someone, helping others. Then it gets so much more exciting, and you don't focus on all the garbage, like the Yetzirah part that's saying, like...
But then it attracts that even more.
Right.
It almost does the sales for you.
Right, exactly. And then she says, like, a friend is, oh, wow, it says to her, like, wow, you have this business, oh my gosh, like, how did you, who knows, word of mouth. I'm not worried about that right now. I'm focusing on doing what I love, right? Which is helping, like, person to person. It's a combination of life coaching and business coaching. Yes. And it's all of it encompassed. Like, don't ever let anyone tell you that this doesn't make sense. It's either this or that. If it's you, it doesn't matter. And you do it your way.
So important.
And that's, by the way, that is exciting. No one can put you in a box and tell you, you are this or that. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you cannot do this or you can't do that, and you can be both, even if it doesn't make sense. And especially if it doesn't make sense to other people, right? Like, it's about you doing what you love, what you're called to, clearly your neshama was sent to this world to do that.
I find it so interesting that I asked you in the beginning what you wanted to be at 18, and you're like a mentor, and then you're telling me you also did, like, all your design stuff and creativity, and, like, look at where you're at now. It's a combination of all those things. It's just so interesting how it's almost full circle.
You know what? And I'll add something else, that when I was 18, I modeled. And and I came from a religious family, okay? So I went to this agency. It was with LA Models, and they're pretty, and they took me in, and I said, listen, I keep Shabbat, I can't work on Fridays or Saturdays, and I won't wear anything immodest. And she said, what? She's like, what do you mean? She's like, so she took out a book, and she said, tell me, like, what's considered modest and modest. Like, this is modeling. And by the way, first time I was scouted at a mall, and I said right away, I'm sorry, this is not for me. And I gave her, I was like, thank you. And then I remember it happened a second time, and then a third time, and I was like, you know what? Why don't I just try it, And especially coming from a religious family, this did not go over well with my father. My mom modeled, actually, before she met my father. So this was a conversation that took place, like, well, you modeled, and like...
Yeah.
Right?
How can you tell me no?
Right, exactly. Why can't I pick and choose? Like, I won't do bikini, I won't wear a bathing suit. And to this day, I won't even wear a bathing suit in public. Wow. So it's like, it doesn't even, So I modeled, and it was so not me. And that's the thing about people telling you who to be, or like choosing for you, like, well, you look like this, so you should do that. Like, just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. That is something that I would give that advice. Yes. Like, I wish I knew that back in the day, because that does not mean that's what you're meant to do. I tried, by the way, many other things. I worked in the healthcare business as a marketer.
Good. I think like, everyone should try everything that they can.
Yeah. And by the way, that's not failure. That's another thing.
Exactly.
People look at it as like, oh, and I'm doing this, and it's so embarrassing. No, try everything. It's not embarrassing. It's not for me. It's not for me. It's not for me. Okay, so we eliminated all of it. What's left?
Yes, exactly.
Right? So,
I so relate. We're going to end off with this question that I ask all my guests. So the question I ask all my guests is, what being a trailblazer means to you?
I believe that the definition of leadership and being a leader has been skewed today. And I believe that being a leader is showing someone, bringing someone the awareness back to themselves, and showing them that they're capable. It's bringing it. It's not about me. It's about me bringing it back to you, and helping you remember what you're made of, what what you're capable of. It's not about you as the leader and having the whole following, and it's really about, through humility and your purpose, bringing that out of others.
It ties back to our entire conversation, I think, like literally
Right.
from the start to like your interest, to your husband, to your business, to your mission, like all of it, I think literally goes back to this. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much.